So what do you do in a situation where you know that you should be doing something, but doing that thing doesn't meet your immediate needs? It meets your needs that are in the future. Welcome to Illo Talk. I am Cory Kerr, and this is day 28 in my sticker stint, 30 stickers in 30 days. And the other day, I posted a question to a closed Facebook group, and I got a lot of really interesting answers. And a lot of those answers I'm going to talk about. Not that I necessarily have all of the answers to some of the questions or problems posed, but I thought it would be interesting to discuss. And so one of the things that came up was, because the question was, what keeps you from creating something? What stops you? And one of the things that came up was a really salient point. I get stressed out about the amount of work that I have to do. This person's in school. The amount of work that I have to do in school and debt. And it's difficult for me to spend time on anything that isn't getting schoolwork out of the way or paying down debt. In other words, it's hard to justify spending time on creativity that is for myself, that doesn't earn me any money. And I can totally understand this one, because when I'm in debt, it eats at me every moment of every waking minute that I'm in debt, and it's just always in the back of my mind. And so I can totally understand that. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So what do you do in a situation where you know that you should be doing something, but doing that thing doesn't meet your immediate needs? It meets your needs that are in the future. For example, working on a side project that is going to increase your skills, where you're not in a position now to where those skills are immediately paying off, but in the future, increasing those skills will pay off. For example, art or music or something along those lines. But you've got to pay the bills. How do you deal with that? I kind of look at it like the way that my dad used to talk about investing. He talks about saving for retirement, stocking up in a 401k. And if you do the math, you need to do it in a situation when you are young, because it's time that is going to really make that compound. And so if you're under 35 years old and you can start putting stuff into a Roth IRA, or something like some sort of tax sheltered annuity, given enough time, that will compound and become a fairly significant sum by the time you retire. But if you wait until you're 40 or 50, it's still good to do, but you've lost out on a significant amount of time that would have really helped you later on. The problem is that is that you need to save when you're the least able to, and the saving that you can do when you're more able, as your career has matured and you're older, is less effective. And it's kind of like that. You need to do your creative projects. You need to do your side work. You need to have a hustle on the side and spend time doing 100 days of comics, 100 days of animation, sticker stint, write a story every week. Whatever it is that you're going to create, take a picture every day, design a poster every 3 days, whatever it is that you're going to do, you need to do those things as early as you possibly can, so that later on you will be good enough and well known enough that they can actually be helpful. I'm saying this as someone who started doing this when I was 32. I've always had side projects and stuff, but I've really only started getting into illustration in my early 30s. I wish that I could have back, that 12 to 15 years that I could have had I done this when I felt like I should have, rather than when I actually did. That's time I'll never get back. I will never be able to gain that back. Now, was I busy? Absolutely. When I was going to my undergraduate I had 2 or 3 jobs at a time, part-time jobs doing this and that and the other thing. You have a social life. You've got, 4 or 5 classes that you're taking, each one from a professor who thinks that they're the only professor that you have, and all project-based. And so there's a ton of work, and I totally understand being overwhelmed by that. And then there's debt that constantly builds, and it constantly builds, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows. And yet, if you don't start, you'll regret it. And this is one of those things where we talk about the difference between urgent and important. All of the things that I listed, all of the things that feel like they're on fire, that feel like there's an emergency, that feel like they have to be taken care of right now, are urgent things. And taking care of urgent things is good. You have to take care of urgent things. The problem is that you have to carve out time for important things. And the difference is it will matter a year from now. And if I look back, doing, had I started a comic in 2004 rather than in 2012, I would have 8 years more experience in drawing. And yet at the time I felt like I was too busy. But I could have spent 20 to 30 minutes a day, right? And if you are in a situation where you literally do not have 20 to 30 minutes a day to do something for yourself that you enjoy, that also expresses your creativity and is improving a specific skill set, either you are a terrible, terrible manager of your time, or you're deluding yourself and you're not being honest about the way that you're spending your time, or you are really, really in a crunch time right now. And that amount of crunch time can be not great. Think of a bow and arrow. If you have the string constantly on a bow and arrow, that bow is going to lose its spring. And that is something that is important. Every once in a while, Stephen Covey talks about sharpening your axe, right? And if you take a dull axe and you try to chop down a tree, it's going to take you forever. But the whole time you'll be swinging and working and feeling like you're making progress. But if you would just take a few minutes to keep that axe sharp and take care of your tools, you won't have to work as hard. And it doesn't mean that you're not working hard. It just means that you are working smarter. There seems to be this idea of working smarter and working harder as if they're diametrically opposed to each other. But I think you should work smart and hard. And that means that you are one of the tools that you have. Your mind, your spirit, your body, and too much stress and pushing too hard and being pulled in too many different directions without any release, without letting off any steam, without any pressure, without doing anything that kind of refills your well of energy or stores of creativity or whatever, will stretch you too far and you will burn out. And so it's not just important to do side projects for the long run. It's also important to do side projects because those side projects will refuel you. Those side projects will build you back up. Those side projects will cause you to have fulfillment and short-term fulfillment. Finishing a page, finishing a sticker, finishing a drawing, finishing, learning a new song, doing, whatever it is that you're doing that is giving you some sort of creative fulfillment, that type of thing is going to refill your stores, not deplete your stores. Now, if you push it too hard and you're losing sleep, like I have during the sticker stint a little bit, then that can't be good. You need to have a balance. But I would highly recommend, having been someone who has pushed way too hard in the wrong direction for way too long without doing anything for myself for a number of years, I would highly recommend that you do that you find that time to take up watercolor, to take up cross-stitching, to take up crochet, to start sketching, to learn how to draw, to learn a new instrument, to teach yourself a new language, to sit down and read a book. Whatever it is that you find some sort of unwinding and fulfillment out of, it's really, really important that you do that thing daily. or you have a list of things that you do daily that every single day, this idea of self-care seems to be passing around lately. But self-care is nothing more than taking a little bit of time for yourself to make sure that you are still going to be a valuable asset to those around you and to yourself and to your bank account and to your family and to your friends, because without that, you're just going to be a stressed out giant mess. And I know this from personal experience because I've been a stressed out giant mess. And sometimes I become a stressed out giant mess, and sometimes I cause myself issues because I'm not doing what it takes to take care of myself. The second reason why it's important is what we talked about before with the investment. Doing this daily work is an investment in your future. Take it from me, somebody who has missed out on over a decade of good practice in drawing. I can't even imagine where I would be if I had started 10 years earlier, where I would be today. But I can tell you this, I wish I had. I wish I had started 6 months earlier. I'd take just 6 months or 2 years. I'd take half that time, 5 years. That would be great. But if I could get 10 years of that back, boy, I can't even imagine, because I just look at what I've been able to accomplish with focused, dedicated effort in a short number of years. If I could add a decade to that, I can't even tell you what I would trade for that. It's a big deal. So anyway, here's the sticker, and this is the second two. No, so we got 2 more after this, or 3 more. I don't know. Whatever the sticker this is. I'm running low on ideas here. I have not been doing much to refill my creativity or to stop and think. It's been a sprint, this stint, and I've been scraping the bottom of the barrel. But hopefully you like this one. It's another nod to the AI taking over. Anyway, we'll catch you guys later. Make sure to take care of yourself and do something fun. In the comments, let me know, what type of activities do you do or avoid to kind of refill, recharge, re-energize, to avoid burnout? What are your anti-burnout activities? I'm super curious on that. And if this comment section kind of blew up into a big series of threads full of ideas that people could draw on to be able to avoid burnout, that would just make my day. That would be awesome. You guys rock. We will catch you later. I'm out.